there are many bands who have become household names in the United States, you'd be surprised at how many bands that most people know in America have done much better outside of the US. This video takes a look at 5 American bands that are bigger overseas. In the US, we look at album sales, certifications, Billboard charts, concert ticket sales, etc. to measure how big a band is at the moment and over time. But when you go outside of the US, if you use many of the same metrics, you'd be surprised how some American bands have excelled much more across the pond than at home. Keep in mind, I'm not saying the 5 bands in this video are not big and doing well in the US. I'm just saying that outside of the United States, they have achieved much more than anyone in the States may be aware of. Also, this is not a top 5. No ranking, just a list. You know how these videos work. Let's get to it. One of the reasons I wanted to make this list is to point out how big of a deal Alter Bridge is over in the UK. While in the United States the band definitely has done well, they are treated like arena rock gods in Britain, headlining the O2 and Royal Albert Hall, with bands like Shinedown supporting Alter Bridge. When it comes to album sales, Alter Bridge has only had one album get certification in the United States, being their debut One Day Remains. Over in the UK, 3 albums have achieved certification for sales, including Blackbird, AB3, and Fortress. It was after Alter Bridge started and continued on that the success overseas kept growing. I totally get why, to be honest. If you see Alter Bridge live and at festivals and shows in the US at concert venues, you know they put on a good show. That is amplified when 15,000 people are all screaming their head off for the band, who are there just to see them. Alter Bridge has released 4 live albums over the years, and 3 of them were recorded in the UK, which is smart because they knew they'd get the better crowd reaction through the performance, and they also knew the British fans would be more likely to purchase those live albums. The same sentiment goes for the rest of Europe too. Alter Bridge are much bigger through Europe, which each album since 2010 charting higher on release date than in the United States. Alter Bridge have been dedicated for almost 20 years now, and while they may not be as appreciated in American festival circuits or packing in arenas here, overseas it's a different story. Crazy to think that only the band's debut album sold notably strong in the US, while overseas there is much more love for the group. Americans need to know that Alter Bridge has done much more than Edge's theme song. Myles Kennedy said that the key to Alter Bridge's success is working hard and connecting with fans. In turn, they found a big connection overseas and are still going strong. Going back through the generations, another band that has succeeded far more in the UK than they did in the United States, which is saying something because they did great in the US, Pixies are still cherished from their time in the late 80s and early 90s, and even into their big comeback in the mid-2010s. While going into the alternative takeover of the 90s, the US and UK were both neck and neck in terms of sales, certifications, etc., but as the years went on, more albums were released, and the UK kept supporting Pixies. Surfer Rosa and Doolittle were both certified gold and platinum respectively in the US and UK, but after Doolittle, the popularity of Pixies kept growing along with other alternative bands in the UK, as Bossa Nova and Trompe le Monde also were certified gold and silver respectively in Britain. While the long hiatus/breakup of Pixies is a thing of legend from 90s, the desperate pleas of Pixies to perform live and come back eventually came to fruition, and that excelled overseas. That led to their reunion tour through the past decade and subsequent releases doing much stronger in the UK. Pixies are nostalgic for a lot of reasons, and they're still going strong because they realized just how much of a hook they had, both when they were unappreciated in their time and now when UK is still trying to make up for that. To give another more recent example, in 2019, Pixies were supporting Weezer on a big arena tour in the US. Over in the UK and Europe, Pixies were headlining several O2 performances in many big venues through Europe. Pixies is a group I always knew had a diehard cult following, but I never knew until people kept suggesting this to me that in the UK they are held in much higher regard from that alternative explosion alongside grunge. I get it though. The 4-album sequence from 88 to 91 still holds up, and I got to see and chew Pixies live in 2019, and they sounded great. UK has it right with their Pixies treatment. We may be 30 years removed from the Pixies' first round in the spotlight, but it looks like the UK is making sure that spotlight has stayed bright over the years, including through the recent albums and touring. When doing research for this video, I had no idea how big Kings of Leon were in Europe, and just how much of a following they continue to have ever since their huge hits in the late 2000s. This video would run on way longer than it needs to just to prove how big Kings of Leon have been and still are through Europe, Australia, New Zealand, and beyond. In America, Only by the Night went 2 times platinum and Come Around Sundown were certified gold. Impressive in many ways, but if you look at the statistics for those albums, the ones prior and the ones after through many other countries, you see just how successful this band is. The 3 albums before Only by the Night, Youth and Young Manhood, Aha, Shake, Heartbreak, and Because of the Times, all went several times platinum in the UK, Australia, and they were certified gold or platinum in Italy, Belgium, New Zealand, and many more. On the opposite side, the albums after Come Around Sundown, being Mechanical Bull and Walls, both had many certifications through Europe and Australia, and Canada, even though that's not over a sea, but don't want to forget them. And now the Kings of Leon have released their latest album as a digital token. I honestly think they might shoot up even higher in sales around the world because of it. Again, this was a shock to find out that Kings of Leon are a powerhouse overseas, and now with their new venture of the NFT album, which, by the way, they are definitely onto something, and this could be big for all musicians and bands going forward if it pans out. Kings of Leon are probably going to continue to be a big, long-lasting act around the world, even if popularity domestically has waned. Just because a band isn't in their heyday from roughly a decade plus ago in the United States, and because people don't understand what the token is that they've released their album on, doesn't mean they aren't still going strong. I love Faith No More. Patton had a long storied career with roughly 20 other bands and side projects, but Faith No More really is the name tied to the man, and while the band has done well with album sales and radio play in the late 80s and especially early 90s, it's down under in Australia where Faith No More is much more cherished. When The Real Thing broke in 1989, it put Faith No More on the map. The album went platinum in America and Australia, as well as getting other certifications around the world. Angel Dust, the 1992 follow-up, went gold in the US, Australia, and several other countries. It's after 1992 that the American sales success slowed for a bit, but that's not the case for Australia. The next 2 albums, King for a Day, Fool for a Lifetime, and Album of the Year, were both certified gold and platinum respectively in Australia, along with spawning huge tours through the 90s. On top of that, their compilation album, Who Cares a Lot, went platinum in Australia, and 2 singles in the 90s, Easy and Ashes to Ashes, also earned certifications, along with Epic back in the day. That is so much more love than they received in the United States in the 90s due to the grunge movement. I get that Faith No More is wild and at times chaotic, but most of their music has stood the test of time, and the Aussies totally get that. Not saying Faith No More doesn't get the attention with tours in the US, as they have headlined rock festivals over the past few years, and we're going to go on a big co-headlining amphitheater tour with Korn in 2020 before the pandemic. But down under, they have been consistently treated like a much bigger name. And I've still never seen Faith No More live, so I'm hoping sooner than later that happens. From epic to superhero, the range of Faith No More is legendary, and it's Australia that truly appreciates the band, along with just how crazy Mr. Patton is. Let's be honest, he is. Before we get to the last entry, please hit the like button below if you've been enjoying this video so far. It helps a ton to get this video pushed to non-subscribers on searches. Thank you. Alright, what's one more American band that kills it overseas? I know the Killers are still a big deal all over and how successful they are with each album. What I did not know before making this video was just how well the band continues to sell through Europe, Australia, New Zealand, and especially the United Kingdom. Their debut, Hot Fuss, in 2004 was massively successful, going platinum 3 times in the US, platinum in New Zealand, 4 times platinum in Australia, and 7 times platinum in the UK, along with certifications in many other nations. The follow-up, Sam's Town, would go platinum in the US, 2 times platinum in Australia and New Zealand each, 4 times platinum in Ireland, and 5 times platinum in the UK. It's after that where the certifications and massive support would start to wane in the US, but not so for the rest of the world. Day and Age went gold in the United States, but went platinum in Australia and New Zealand, and 4 times platinum in England and Ireland. Battleborn would not even get certification in the US, while Battleborn would go gold in Australia and Ireland and platinum in the UK. Wonderful Wonderful would be certified gold in the United Kingdom, and even the Killers' latest album, Imploding the Mirage, released less than a year ago, has already been certified silver and will most likely hit gold sooner than later. All this, and I haven't even covered the compilation albums from the Killers that earned sales certifications and the many singles that went platinum around the world. Along with massive European tours that were still going on up until the pandemic and will continue when concerts resume, the Killers also recorded their live album at Royal Albert Hall. No matter what the Killers do, it succeeds overseas. It blew me away just how consistently huge the Killers are overseas through most corners of the world. Even an album coming out in 2020 during an age where album sales aren't even close to what they were still gets success for the Killers due to international sales. It's further proof that a huge band that might not have as big of a spotlight anymore in the US can still dominate everywhere else. The Killers might be one of the best examples of that in rock. The Killers check a lot of boxes for many music fans, not even just rock, pop rock, or alternative fans. Even if fans in the States may not be as vocal or physically supportive, many other nations around the world are still loving what the Killers are doing, along with many other American bands. And that was a look at 5 American bands who do better overseas. Know of another band from the US who kills it outside of their homeland? Leave a comment and let everyone know. Big thanks to my patrons and a special thanks to Brandon Barrettfeld, Chris Stoneman, McKenna White, and Dom Noble. You can have a say in upcoming videos and see videos early by supporting Rocked on Patreon. Please click the link in the video description and info card for more information. Please subscribe and ring the bell to get notified at upcoming videos. You can check out my concert photography on Instagram, and you can keep up to date with Rocked on Facebook and Twitter.